This walkthrough will show you how to add a parent property in Energy Star Portfolio Manager for individual buildings that are part of the same property that you will be benchmarking as a campus. A campus is a collection of 2 or more co-located buildings that act as a single property. When is a campus relevant to a building or property owner in the context of this ordinance? Properties comprised of more than one building that fall under one of the property types listed here on the city's benchmarking website may benchmark each building individually in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, but they must report all associated buildings to the City of Ann Arbor as a single campus. In practical terms, when reporting your data to the city in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, you will not share the data for each individual building, but rather the parent property we are about to set up. The data for this parent property will include the aggregate data for all buildings that are part of the property itself under the parent property, or the campus as a whole. Properties that are not one of these 5 types should benchmark each building individually and report them individually. In this example, we have 2 buildings that are both multifamily housing buildings that we will be benchmarking as a campus. We have currently set them up as individual buildings without a parent property. As this is multifamily housing, this should be benchmarked as a campus. For the sake of ease for this demonstration, each building is 10,000 square feet. It has 10 multifamily housing units each in a low rise or 1 to 4 stories. Each unit has 2 laundry hookups, and each building has 400 square feet of irrigated area. To get started to add the parent property, we will click Add a Property, like we did for the individual buildings. However, the process we go through here will be slightly different. In the Your Property type, we will select Multifamily Housing, as that is the use type for both of the buildings under this parent property. When we set up our initial 2 buildings, we selected for Your Property's buildings that my property is a single building, as we were just setting up individual buildings. For this property, we will select more than 1. And for how many, we will select 2, as we are including 2 buildings. Click Get Started. We will now enter the details for our parent property. Today I'll name this Test Parent Property 1. And I will use the same address information as we used for each individual building that will be included under this parent property. This will include the same year built. And in the gross floor area, as we have 2 buildings that are 10,000 square feet each, we will enter 20,000 square feet. For the irrigated area, since each building has 400 square feet, we will enter a total of 800 square feet. These values must align with the total values for each individual building added together. Similarly, our occupancy for each building was 100%, so that is what we will select for occupancy here. In this example, we will enter our standard ID or our Ann Arbor Benchmarking ID, our unique identifier for our property. In the standard ID section, under the standard ID -city/town, we will select Ann Arbor Building ID, and we will assume that our Ann Arbor Building ID is A2BLD-00001. If you do not know your Ann Arbor Benchmarking ID, or Ann Arbor Building ID as it is referred to in Energy Star Portfolio Manager, you can find this on the City of Ann Arbor's website, on their benchmarking website, which is a2gov.org/benchmarking, under the Covered Building List section of the webpage. Now that we've entered our unique identifier, or our Ann Arbor Benchmarking or Building ID, we will click Continue. In the next page, we will complete additional information about the property. These details are the aggregate information for the 2 buildings that we are benchmarking under this parent property. So, We've already entered our gross floor area of 20,000 square feet, 10,000 for each building. The total number of residential living units is 20, 10 in each building. The number of residential living units in low-rise is also 20, as both of our buildings are low-rise buildings. For mid and high-rise units, we will put 0. As each unit is a 2-bedroom, and there are 20 total units, we will say that there are 40 total bedrooms. Each building also has a common entrance. It is not a specific resident population type, and it is not government subsidized housing. Each unit has 2 laundry hookups, so we will also say that there are 40 laundry hookups in all units. In the individual buildings, when we set them up, we indicated that the laundry hookups were in the units themselves, so the number of laundry hookups in the common area will be 0. The entirety of each building is also able to be heated or cooled, so we will select 100% for these 2 options here. Once we've completed all this information, click Add Property. The parent property will now be added to your Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. However, it is not yet linked to your individual buildings. To do so, in the parent property details, scroll down to the individual buildings on this property section. Click Add a Building. In this new page, you'll be able to add a new building that does not yet exist in your account, or you can link the parent property to existing buildings already set up in your account. As we have set up 2 individual buildings already, today we will just link the 2 buildings we have already set up. In this new page, in the Add Existing Buildings, we will select Buildings. We are adding our 2 test buildings here, so I will check the box next to both and click Apply Selection. Once the buildings have been selected, click Add Buildings, and the buildings will be linked to the parent property. On the parent property page, we scroll down to the individual buildings on this property section, and we will see our 2 buildings linked here. Your buildings are now linked to your parent property or campus. Once you are ready to report your energy and water data for your property or campus, you will only report data at the campus level. When either manually reporting benchmarking data or using the sharing function to automatically report data to the city, you will choose buildings or properties to share. If you're benchmarking a campus, you will only select the parent property to share, not each individual building under the campus or parent property.